Then God said, "Let us make humans in our image, according to our likeness." So God created humans in his image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. Genesis chapter 1 is a remarkable piece of Semitic literature. The structure, rhythm, and meter, the use of repetition and refrain, the play on words and sounds in the original Hebrew. It is a masterful ode and hymn to the God Yahweh. However, the surrounding peoples would hear something more than simply the praise of a people for their God. Genesis 1 makes Yahweh the creator of the heavens, the seas, the earth, and all the birds, fish, and animals they contain. To people who worshipped gods who took the form of celestial bodies or animals, to surrounding cultures who thought their gods resided in the heavens, mountains, or seas, they would likely hear this as a taunt or a sneer. My God is master and creator of your gods. You worship a God who is a bull? My God created the bulls. Your God is God of the sun? My God created the sun. My God is foremost and sovereign. Your God is lesser, weaker, submissive, and impotent before my God. If your God exists at all, it is only because of the creative will of my God. My God created your God. It's the religious equivalent for my dad could beat up your dad. Let's take a moment to focus on the structure of verse 27 on its own. So God created humans in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. Through repetition and parallels, the author restates the same idea 3 different ways. This was done not so you will use compare and contrast to parse what is different from line to line. This was done to add clarity through redundancy. The author repeats the same thought in a variety of ways so as not to be mistaken in their meaning. Therefore, it should be pointed out here that both man and woman are the image of God. It is not man in the image of God and woman in the image of man, but rather each is the image of God in turn. So now let's go back to verse 26. Then God said, "Let us make humans in our image according to our likeness." That word image in Hebrew is selim. So let's further explore the use of the Hebrew word selim. Then God said, "Let us make humans in our selim according to our likeness." So God created humans in his selim. In the selim of God he created them. Male and female he created them. Numbers 33:52 says, "You shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land before you, destroy their figured stones, destroy all their cast selim, and demolish all their high places." 2 Kings 11:18 says, "Then all the people of the land went to the house of Baal and tore it down. His altars and his selim they broke in pieces." Ezekiel 7:20, "From their beautiful ornament in which they took pride, they made their abominable selim, their detestable things. Therefore I will make of it an unclean thing to them." Amos 5:26, "You shall take up Sakuth your king and Kaiwan your star god, your selim, which you made for yourselves." Selim, when referring to the image of another god, is simply an idol. Therefore, because human beings are made in the selim of Yahweh, it is not a long leap from here to say that we are the graven image of Yahweh, that each individual man, woman, and child is an idol unto Yahweh. Consider what that means in relation to Isaiah chapter 44. "But now hear, O Jacob my servant, Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus says the Lord who made you, who formed you in the womb and will help you. All who make idols are nothing, and the things they delight in do not profit. Their witnesses neither see nor know, and they will be put to shame. Who would fashion a god or cast an image that can do no good? All its devotees will be put to shame. The artisans are merely human. The blacksmith works his idol with a tool over the coals, shaping it with hammers and forging it with his strong arm. He becomes hungry and his strength fails. He drinks no water and becomes faint. The carpenter stretches a line, marks it out with a stylus, fashions it with planes, and marks it with a compass. He makes his idol in human form, with human beauty, to be set up in a shrine. He cuts down cedars, or chooses a holm tree or an oak, and lets it grow strong among the trees of the forest. He plants a cedar, and the rain nourishes it. Then the wood can be used as fuel. Part of the wood he takes and warms himself. He kindles a fire and bakes bread. Then he makes a god and worships it. He makes it a carved image and bows down before it. Half the wood he burns in the fire. Over this half he roasts meat, eats it, and is satisfied. He also warms himself and says, "Ah, I am warmed by the fire." The rest of the wood he makes into a god, his idol, bows down to it and worships it. He prays to it and says, "Save me, for you are my God." They do not know, nor do they comprehend. For their eyes are shut so that they cannot see, and their minds as well so they cannot understand. No one considers, nor is there knowledge or discernment to say, "Half of it I burned in the fire, and I baked bread on its coals. I roasted meat and have eaten. Now shall I make the rest of it an abomination? Shall I fall down before a block of wood?" He feeds on ashes. A deluded mind has led him astray, and he cannot save himself or say, "Is not this thing in my right hand a fraud?" Idolatry is absurd by its very nature. Fundamentally, it is a creator who worships their own creations. The maker worships the design. Almighty Yahweh made fragile and mortal humans, who rather than worship their creator, forge their own gods to worship in Yahweh's stead. Idols are the perishable creations of Yahweh's perishable creations. Yet when the people seek providence from something greater than themselves, they turn to their own crude and ineffectual inventions. Idols were stand-ins for a god, a placeholder. As you do unto an idol, so you do unto the god it represents. You worship the idol. You present food and drink to the idol. You pray to the idol and offer it burnt offerings. To abuse or misuse an idol is to commit sacrilege, blasphemy, desecration, to profane or defile what is holy in the sight of the god it represents. To fail in reverence toward the idol is to offend and outrage the God it embodies. And with that in mind, we come to Matthew 25 and the parable of the sheep and the goats. The king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me." Then he will say to those at his left hand, "You who are accursed, depart from me into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not give me clothing. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." Then they will answer, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not take care of you?" Then he will answer them, "Truly I tell you, just as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me." Yahweh forbids the creation of idols, or any image made by human hands to represent him. There already exists a graven image of Yahweh, shaped and formed by Yahweh's own hands, and that is humanity. The moral of the sheep and the goat seems to be, as you do unto others, so you do unto God. To phrase this as a law, you might say, don't do unto others what you don't want to do unto God. Or to phrase it as a commandment, do unto others as you wish to do unto God. In that ethic lies all of the law and prophets. To mistreat others, those beloved graven images of God, that is sacrilege. That is blasphemy. That is an offense to Jehovah. Before we end, let's look at one last New Testament passage that considers the image of God. They brought Jesus a denarius. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this and whose title?" They answered, "Caesar's." Then he said to them, "Give therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." The Greek word translated here as head is icon, meaning image or figure or likeness. The Greek word translated to title is epigraphe, meaning inscription. Christ says, "Render unto God what is God's." What has God's icon or image on it, just as the denarius has Caesar's? Human beings. What has God's epigraphe or inscription on it? The Jewish people. Render unto Caesar money, for that is Caesar's. Render yourselves unto God, for you are the Lord's. We certainly know and understand humans are not divine beings. We are creatures and mortals. We are not something to be worshipped. However, as each person bears the image of the God who loves us, the God who feels for us and suffers with us, we owe to every person bearing the image of God love, respect, honor, duty, and service. This is true regardless of their gender or economic status or health or politics. This is true regardless of whatever physical, emotional, or moral disgust we might feel toward them. Do unto others as you wish to do unto God, lest you should find you retreating with God unawares. Do unto others as you would do unto God, for that is the sacrifice Yahweh finds acceptable. Do unto others as you would do unto God, for that is the offering that Yahweh finds most pleasing.